senior Kremlin aide has accused the U.S. of arming Ukrainian rebels and is urging the Kiev government to put an end to what it called an attempted coup. It comes on the eve of a meeting between the Ukrainian president and his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin, in Sochi tomorrow, a move that's expected to anger opposition leaders and protesters in Kiev as they enter a third month demonstrating on the streets of the Ukraine capital. Well, for more on that, we're joined now by Andy Hunder, who's a director of the Ukraine Institute in London. Andy, thanks very much indeed for talking to us. How much concern is there that these protests could well spill over into Russian territory and could snowball into anti-Russian sentiment in the region?
I think there's a great concern. I think the two issues at the moment is the influence of Russia. A Russian MP, Vladimir Zhirinovsky, was quoted last week as saying that Russia shouldn't spare any live ammunition in shooting in Ukraine. So, I mean, that causes great concern. And I think the rhetoric that we're hearing from Moscow and Mr. Putin's advisors, President Putin's advisors, saying that they should clamp down. And what we expect tomorrow is that Putin will tell President Yanukovych, say, you know, get rid of these protesters, use force. And Mr. Putin has already in the past, it's been quoted that he's threatened to break every single bone in Mr. Yanukovych's body if he decides to move more towards Europe. So Yanukovych is scared. He's operating under fear. And he is spreading that fear amongst others in Ukraine, amongst the oligarchs that still have or have controlled a lot.
Indeed, yes. And the oligarchs must have been quite quiet in what's been going on. Are they just watching and waiting to see which side to go for?
Absolutely. I think they are dependent on many factors, including Russian gas and others. But their media, their TV stations that they own, some have been more balanced, some have been very pro the regime. So there have been protests taking place here in London on a regular basis. Some of the oligarchs, they own the most expensive apartment down the road here in Knightsbridge for £136 million. It's owned by a Ukrainian oligarch. So protests have been taking place there, putting pressure on these oligarchs, saying, you know, you may never ever see that property again if there's an entry ban on you or your assets are frozen for supporting a regime that is murdering and torturing innocent people.
Now, there is a school of thought that suggests that the opposition, which failed to win presidential and parliamentary elections in 2010, is trying to force its way in through this crisis. How much currency does that have?
Well, the opposition leader who lost the elections to Yanukovych today is in prison. Yulia Tymoshenko is behind bars, and she's been put there by President Yanukovych. And Mr. Yanukovych, his main fear is that he knows as soon as he loses any ground now, the only place he's going now is he's joining her. She'll probably be she'll be freed, and he'll be in prison for possibly for the rest of his life.
And what about Mr. Klitschko? Because he seems to be playing quite an interesting go-between between all of them. I mean, he is talking to the government. He's very much a face of the protesters.
Yes, I mean, he's a well-known face both in Ukraine and around the world. So I think there is room for the opportunity for some sort of dialogue. And I think over the next couple of days, couple of weeks, we may see him playing a more sort of focal role in the whole issue.
Mr. Hunder, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.